Today's national anthem is being performed by Senior Airman Raymond Davis. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say doth that star-spangled
From the campus of Wichita State University, good afternoon and welcome to Charles Koch Arena. It is SMU and Wichita State volleyball action here on the American Digital Network. Glad you could join us. Shane Dennis alongside Denning Gehrig. Happy to bring it to you here this afternoon on this Veterans Day. SMU comes in after a victory on Friday night, a 5-set match against Tulsa to improve their record to 7-7 inside the conference. Meanwhile, Wichita State reeling a bit. They lost a rare home loss here in this building Friday night at the hands of the Houston Cougars. So Wichita State also 7-7 in the conference. SMU 7-7, 10-14 overall though for SMU, and Wichita State only 12-13. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but first, Denning, we want to talk about some of the individual combatants. First for SMU, someone that's played virtually from the second she walked on campus.
Shane, few players in the American are as important to their team offensively and defensively as Brittany Adams. She's developed from primarily a back row player as a freshman to an explosive hitter who the Mustangs can count on basically for 12 to 15 kills seemingly every night. Don't sleep on her defensively either. She had 21 digs against Wichita State down in Dallas.
And for Wichita State, one of their preseason all-conference pick, Brittany Adams was too, by the way, but Tabitha Brown, who takes the lion's share of the swings for Wichita State.
And another young lady whose game has really evolved over the course of her collegiate career. When she first came to Wichita State as an Alabama transfer, she was largely a one-dimensional player, a girl who would just go up and hit it as hard as she possibly could. But since then, she's turned herself into an All-American caliber 6-rotation player. She's going to leave Wichita as one of the most decorated Shockers in program history.
Now, as it pertains to the two coaches, it's a really interesting dynamic between these two. First of all, Lisa Seifert's the only coach SMU has ever had. So from the time that she resurrected the program, she's been a mainstay.
I don't think people realize how much work goes into literally building a program from the ground up. And Seifert's first victory in her SMU career actually came against Wichita State all the way back in 1996. She's gotten 394 other ones since then, has built this SMU program into one of the best in all of college volleyball, including back-to-back American championships in 2015 and 2016.
This is the 7th all-time meeting between the two programs. Meanwhile, on the other hand, a lot of similarities in that Chris Lamb has been here almost that long and has built Wichita State from kind of just a middling program in the Missouri Valley Conference to a national power.
Bottom line, Shane, there's just a lot of wins between these two coaches, and Chris Lamb has had maybe his toughest task this season, having to deal with not only an incredibly youthful roster, but also a bunch of injuries that have really limited the explosiveness of this Wichita State offense.
SMU and Wichita State both are used to winning. This is a tough season for both. SMU has had 5 straight 20-win seasons. Wichita State, 15 consecutive. As you see there on the graphic, neither one of those teams are going to get anywhere close to 20 wins this year. Has to be a weird feeling for both these head coaches.
There's a lot of teams in the country that would be very happy to be 7-7 in a strong volleyball conference like the American. But you've got SMU, which was back-to-back conference champions, and Wichita State, which went 20-0 in their inaugural run through the conference last year. It's been a weird season for both these teams. I see this more as an aberration than any kind of a developing trend.
Wichita State all-time has won 4 of the previous 6 meetings, although SMU won a 5-set marathon back on the 19th of October in 5 sets, 25-16, 22-25, 16-25. So SMU is actually down 2-1 before winning the final 2. And Wichita State, again, trying to bounce back after a tough loss at the hands of Houston. A couple of keys to the game, Denning, to watch for here this afternoon.
For SMU, when they've struggled this season, it's been with self-inflicted wounds, whether that's service errors or just general attack errors. They're 9th in the American with a 185 hitting percentage. They need to be efficient offensively here this afternoon. And then pick your poison. SMU, for the most part this season, has utilized the 6-2 system with a couple of different settles. Kendra Patterson and Lily Heim. It was Heim who had a career-high 50 assists in the Friday match against Tulsa. We'll have to see which one they go with here today.
So SMU had to expend a lot of energy on Friday night. Wichita State was dispatched in 4 sets. What are the things Wichita State has to do to bounce back from Friday?
Well, Shane, first and foremost, they need to establish the middles. They couldn't get Emma Wright or Brooke Smith on the right page that entire match. They'll need to get one of them going on the scoreboard. And then I'd like to see Megan Tafflinger close to 100%. I know she's been battling injuries throughout this season, but when she's good to go, she adds an extra dimension to this Wichita State offense.
Bria Merchant all set to serve. First serve just seconds away. This, again, the second meeting between these two clubs. SMU won a marathon down at Moody. First time these two got together. Here we go. Glad you could join us here this afternoon from Wichita. SMU 10-14, 7-7 overall. And the Ponies get the first point here in set 1.
Lexi Nordman getting them on the scoreboard to start things. 6th in the American with a 305 attack percentage. Very efficient hitter in the middle for the Mustangs.
Nordman had 8 kills on Friday night against Tulsa. That's a nice win for them. Tulsa's having a nice season, and SMU went in there and wrecked things on their way up to Wichita. So the Shockers take advantage of a service error. Knotted up at 1. Georgia Chivita, also one of the preseason all-conference performers on the back row for Wichita State. And there's the timing you talked about, Denning. The quick in the middle, all weekend long, it's really been hit and miss, and mostly miss.
Yeah, it was a big problem on Friday. They just could not establish any kind of a rhythm, and it didn't matter which setter was in there, whether it's Jordan Roberts or Cora Calling. They need to find that. They're going to have a chance here this afternoon.
Nice clean swing on the right side by Alex Kuhn. Good put away for number 9.
Kuhn has been one of the more consistent scoring options for Wichita State this season. The junior from Williamsburg, Virginia, with a good swing there, and those were in short supply against Houston as well. It just seemed like a Shocker offense that was not confident and not in rhythm.
Kuhn 3rd on the team in kills, and there's one of the best in the nation in digs. The aforementioned Georgia Chivita, the libero for Wichita State. Tafflinger just or Steiwalt rather, just kind of shoved it across the net. And that attack is on the tape. Wichita State let it go. They thought maybe it would be wide, but SMU forges in front.
And that's one of the best freshmen in the American, Rachel Wolf from Frisco, second on this team with 191 kills. She's been kind of a super sub this season, only started 7 matches, but has played in 89 sets and has really come into her own as the season has gone along.
And now SMU with a 2-point advantage after Wichita State, maybe a little bit of miscommunication. But Kendall Patterson registers the service ace. Reagan Steiwalt misfires. So now SMU's got a little something going here early in the first set. Kendall Patterson was busy against Wichita State back on the 19th of October. 26 assists and 19 digs in that 5-setter. And Emma Wright stuffed right in the middle of the SMU floor. And now the Mustangs have a run of about 4 in a row.
Well, SMU is one of the best blocking teams in the conference. They come in 4th with just over 2 blocks per set, and that pass from Calling a little bit low. Didn't give Wright much of a chance.
Marin Kennedy right in the middle of things for the Ponies. Tabitha Brown through the block, but SMU keeps it off the Ponies' floor. Good diving save by Georgia Chivita, but Wichita State gets to the net. Some sort of ball handling error. 7-2. Ponies, like they're shot out of a cannon, off to a really good start. Steiwalt puts it away and ends the run for SMU. 7-3 in the early going.
One of the young players that Chris Lamb and this coaching staff very excited about from a small town in Kansas, Ness City, but a very explosive athlete.
Steiwalt only had 4 kills the other night against Houston. And Wichita State takes advantage of a misfire on the left side. So it's now 7-4 Mustangs.
Wichita State did hold Brittany Adams in check pretty well down in Dallas. She hit just 0.95 on 42 swings in that match.
And so now Wichita State with 3 in a row. Be a service ace for Tabitha Brown. Almost the exact same type of serve in the same area of the floor. And through the block, point SMU.
Mustangs did a really good job getting back into system after the initial block, and ultimately they got it over to their best offensive player. Adams got a clean swing in a one-on-one block situation. That second player was late sliding over, and Adams more times than not will capitalize on those opportunities.
Adams 15 kills and 12 digs against the Golden Hurricane Friday night.
She's a double-double machine. As SMU gets another point, 11 double-doubles to pace this SMU squad this season.
SMU, speaking of Friday night, hit 233 in that match against Tulsa. Serve pass game, not exactly a strength of Wichita State at the moment. SMU surges forward to a 5-point first set lead. Brittany Adams to serve. And Reagan Steiwalt powers one through the block that eventually finds the Mustangs floor. 10-6.
And a good swing here from Steiwalt. A couple of high hands to get through, and SMU nearly kept it off the floor. That's always been kind of a hallmark of this Mustang program, is they're going to be exerting a lot of effort on the defensive end. That's been kind of the mantra.
A rare block for Wichita State. Looked like Reagan Steiwalt was in the middle of that one, and it found the SMU floor.
It was indeed Steiwalt with some help from the tape.
Hannah Jacobs was turned away for SMU. And try as she might, Tabitha Brown couldn't keep that in, and SMU counters.
And that was Marin Kennedy. First time we called her name here this afternoon, the redshirt sophomore, known more for her efforts as a blocker, showcasing some power right there.
Saw Montana Watts exit the match for the moment for SMU. A couple of thunderous swings from Reagan Steiwald has kept Wichita State hanging around here in the first set.
The sophomore is getting plenty of opportunities here in the early going. And I wonder if Chris Lamb feels like there's some kind of a matchup that he can exploit there. We haven't seen a whole lot of Alex Kuhn or Tabitha Brown. It's mostly been Steiwald.
Steiwald only had 2 kills in the previous matchup with SMU. And Wichita State hasn't been able to string much together since it was 10-5.
Obviously some miscommunication here as Jordan Roberts, the setter, was the one who got the dig, but then there was nobody home.
SMU to serve, up 4 here in the early going. Kuhn smacks it right into the tape. Another point for SMU and an attack error by Alex Kuhn.
SMU with a lot of size in the middle, and it's going to pose some problems for Wichita State's pin hitters. Passing going to be very critical here this afternoon.
Lily Heim will get credit for the ace, and it's been all SMU here in the first set. So Chris Lamb is going to call a timeout. We'll be back in 60 seconds on the American Digital Network.
A huge part of my quality of life is the experiences that I've had, and that was all provided by SMU. I'm Thomas Morstead. Game changers are shaped here.
Welcome back to Charles Koch Arena. SMU trying to complete the weekend sweep on their trip north after beating Tulsa Friday night. They are enjoying a somewhat commanding first set lead, 14-8. Shane Dennis and Denning Gehrig with you here from the Roundhouse. And Wichita State, for as much as they were kind of flat against Houston on Friday night in a 4-set loss, hard to shake off the cobwebs here this afternoon, here in the early going, it looks like.
I'm sure Chris Lamb and that coaching staff were hoping that the quick turnaround would be beneficial. You get right back out on the court and a chance to get the bad taste out of their mouth. But it's a slow start. Alex Kuhn trying to help Wichita State back into it.
Kuhn with the kill gets the Shockers within 5 rather, 14-9. Shiva just barely kept it off the Shocker floor. Brown was stuffed, and Roberts and Kara Bound couldn't decide who wanted to take it. And boy, we've seen a lot of that in the first set. Some miscommunications led to kind of, like you said in the open, self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, that probably needs to be Roberts taking command there as the setter. It's her responsibility to put the ball in play for one of the hitters, and Bound in the area caused problems.
Boy, Wichita State all kinds of out of sync. And SMU now with a 7-point advantage. Bria Merchant to serve for the Ponies. That's through the block and point Wichita State. Alex Kuhn strikes again.
Well, it's not going to be enough for Wichita State to just rely on one hitter. They're going to need some balance and Other players contributing. Alex Kuhn has gotten off to a good start, but if the middles can't get involved, it's going to be an uphill climb.
That rainbow by Chivita just barely made it over the tape, almost turned into an ace. Good sprawling attempt by Montana Watts, but it turned into a Shocker point. SMU's lead trimmed to 5.
And there you get to see one of the other elements of Georgia Chivita's game. Not only is she one of the best at digging the volleyball in the entire country, she can pass it pretty well. Good set there to the far side.
Quick in the middle, the Shockers were ready for that attack. Adams winds up, tries again. Lexi Nordwin with a little tip. And Wichita State answers back with 3 points in a row.
Shockers trying to get this crowd involved. They've been waiting for something to cheer about for much of this first set, and a couple rockets from Kuhn and now Tabitha Brown have the black and gold faithful in spirits.
So Wichita State inches a little closer. SMU led by as many as 7 here in this first set. Adams with a little soft touch over the net, but it's wide, out of bounds, point side out Shockers, and the comeback continues.
And that was all set up by a very good serve from Georgia Chivita. Got tight to the body of Brittany Adams and kind of had SMU all out of whack.
Chivita had 30 digs Friday night against Houston, and that was a powerful swing that turned into a SMU point. Breaks up the run by Wichita State.
And Rachel Wolf at it again. She had maybe her best match of the season against Wichita State earlier this year. 13 kills, only 2 errors, and hit .344 at Moody.
Watts just has to send it over, see if the Shockers can take advantage. They do. 17-14 SMU. So the Shockers dug themselves an awful big hole. Some miscommunication, some basically flat play at times here in the first set, and they're trying to dig their way out of that big hole.
And Alex Kuhn will now head to the bench, but she's one of the sole reasons why Wichita State is even in this set. A couple of huge swings.
Marin Kennedy that quick in the middle, and then she basically stuffed Wichita State at the net. So Kennedy took credit for that point for SMU. 18-14 Mustangs to serve. Kendall Patterson to serve for SMU. They've led virtually from the start. Now Steiwalt just has to send it over. We'll see if SMU can take advantage of the Shockers being out of system. Adams blocked at the net, and it crawls down to the SMU floor. Point Wichita State.
Everything about that point was pointing towards SMU. They got a free ball over. They got Adams isolated on the far side, but the Shocker block up to the task.
Emma Wright, who missed a lot of time this season due to a broken thumb, with the block. And Brittany Adams answers with a big swing. Point SMU.
I used the word explosive in our open, and that's the kind of hitter that she is. Not all that big for an outside hitter, just 5'10", but she can get off the deck and basically hits it over the block there, off the fingertip and down.
Tabitha Brown went sprawling and tried to one-arm one, much like Montana Watts right there. Shocker point gets them a little closer, but if Wichita State's going to really scare SMU in this first set, they're going to have to reel off a few in a row. Rachel Wolf. I beg your pardon. Is that Hannah Jacobs 10 instead of 18? Hannah Jacobs with the big swing for the Ponies.
Another really exciting freshman for SMU. And another native Texan, third on this team with 169 kills coming in.
Jacobs was good on Friday night against Tulsa, had 13 kills. Brooke Smith finally connects. She's had some tough luck in trying to attack this weekend with some questionable passes, but that was put away nicely by Brooke Smith. SMU trying to hang on here late in set number 1. And that'll turn into a Shocker service ace. Gets WSU within 2.
Both these teams are down towards the bottom of the conference in service aces, so it's not typically a huge element of their game, but both have a pair in this first set.
Timeout on the floor. We'll take it with them back in 60 seconds on the American Digital Network.
More than 7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 22 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American, powered by determination.
Scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year.
Cueto from 30.
Unbelievable.
And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
SMU with a 20-18 advantage over Wichita State here in the first set. Glad you could join us here this afternoon on the campus of Wichita State in the American Digital Network. SMU Wichita State for the final time this season. SMU trying to complete the season sweep. Denning, from the start, it had been all SMU. Wichita State helped them out a little bit, but now a late flurry has got the Shockers within a couple.
Sure looked like Friday. It just kind of rolled into today for Wichita State. Flat. Not a whole lot of energy either on the court or on the bench, but Wichita State seems to have found something over the last 10 points or so.
Jordan Roberts to serve for the Shockers. SMU still hanging on to a 2-point advantage. And Tabitha Brown couldn't keep it off the Shocker floor as Hannah Jacobs had a couple of really big swings over the last couple points for SMU. Only played 2 sets against Wichita State and only had 2 kills back on the 19th of October.
Since then, though, she's been riding a streak of 5 consecutive matches with double-digit kills, so that may have sparked something.
Rachel Wolf strikes on the right side. So just when the Ponies needed a couple, they get a couple, and now wrestle control back here late in set 1. Lily Heim to serve. Brooke Smith finds the back right corner of the Pony floor. 22-19.
Probably not how Wichita State drew it up. It was just kind of pushed into this back corner from Brooke Smith, but it was perfectly placed just inside the blue tape.
Wichita State to serve, down 3. Kara Bound with a near ace. And Alex Kuhn somehow powered that through 3 or 4 hands, some fingertips, and the Shockers back within 2 again. So 2 in a row for Wichita State has them within 22-20.
And an unbelievable start to this match for Alex Kuhn. Already 6 kills in this first set.
And a bullet down to the Shocker floor by Hannah Jacobs. Jacobs strikes again.
Pretty clear that Hannah Jacobs is playing some of her best volleyball of the season. This is a bullet, and no chance for anybody on the Shocker back row.
Now SMU really has WSU on the ropes. 23-20 here in the first set. And Tabitha Brown answers for Wichita State. We saw Houston come in here Friday night, the owner of just 2 conference wins, and looked nothing like a team with only 2 conference wins. SMU certainly didn't come in here looking like a team that's 10-14, at least not in the early going.
We're a team that's 1-8 on the road this season.
Little tip across, and that's going to turn into a point as Alex Kuhn and Georgia Chivita collide, trying to keep it off their floor. But now Montana Watts will be serving for the set. Kuhn with a little soft touch. That finds the SMU floor. So with their backs squarely against the wall, the Shockers will need at least 2 in a row here. Keep things going.
We've seen the full array of shot selections from Alex Kuhn in this first set. Ability to put the ball down. She can hit it deep, and there goes into the donut.
Well, just that close to having that first set end right there. Boy, great effort by SMU on a couple of different occasions during that rally, but the Shockers end up getting the point, and they are now within 1.
Like I said, under Lisa Seifert, you know one thing when you play SMU, they're going to give 100% effort on the defensive end. That's always been the hallmark of their program. Bodies diving all over the place. It looked like a sure Shocker point about 4 different times. The Mustangs stayed in it, but ultimately it's Steiwald who puts it away.
Mustangs last year 21-11, their 5th consecutive 20-win season. And that is going to do it. So the Shockers made a late little push, but SMU polishes off Wichita State in that first set. 25-23, first set goes the way of SMU. So if there was any, I guess, carryover from the exhaustion of a 5-setter down in Tulsa just a couple of nights ago, SMU really made a statement in that first set, I thought.
Well, what's interesting about SMU's season here in the American is that 3 of their last 4 conference wins have come in 5 sets. And so I don't want to say that they're a team comfortable going the distance, but at the very least, it doesn't seem like they have any kind of an emotional or physical hangover from an exhausting and exerting 5-set match.
And it's getting late in the season, too. Both these teams can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the motivation by both these coaches, Lisa Seifert for SMU, Chris Lamb for Wichita State, the postseason is obviously waning for both. And how you keep these players motivated when they're not only tired, but they can see the end in sight, probably the toughest part of a head coach, I would think.
Well, the goal right now is to just put your players in a position to succeed moving forward, whether that's players who will be returning to the program for the next several seasons, or if you're a senior, it's moving on beyond your volleyball career. It's still making them succeed in their careers moving forward. But there's a lot to like about both these programs in terms of the youth. I mean, we saw Hannah Jacobs and Rachel Wolf doing things in that first set that just make you go, wow. They're both freshmen, and you got a freshman setter in Lily Heim. The Mustangs look like they're set up to be very good for a long time.
And Wichita State, speaking of that, will be saying goodbye to Tabitha Brown. And they're just last year had to say goodbye to a lot of good players that graduated and left Wichita State in a state of flux, the likes of which we haven't seen around here in a long time with all the new faces for the Shockers.
Even the best collegiate programs make it difficult sometimes for us to remember that college sports, by their very nature, it's a cyclical business. And so there's going to be that 1 year in 10 where you lose a bunch of really good players, and both these programs had to deal with that. There's no more Emily Hebert. There's no more Abby Lehman for Wichita State. It means young players had to fill in those shoes, and as was probably to be expected, there's been some bumps in the road.
Well, the Shockers dropped that first set to SMU, 25-23. Take a look at some of the numbers. SMU, just about like we thought. It was an efficient-looking first set, and the stats don't lie. They out-hit Wichita State 303-273, which is nothing wrong with 273, but when you give it up 303, it makes it tough.
And that's 303 from an SMU offense that came into play today with a 185 hitting percentage on the season. So that's well above their season's average. Like you said, though, 273, if you want to take away something positive from that first set for Wichita State, is that towards the end, they started to get Alex Kuhn and Tabitha Brown involved. If those two are both firing, the Shocker offense looks a lot better.
And when you look back on it, too, there were at least 3 or 4 different instances where there was lack of communication. Ball dropped between 2 different people at Wichita State. And when you look back at a 25-23 first set, you're like, and we clean up a few things, and the result might have been different. But SMU took full advantage.
Those are the points you kick yourself about when you look back on things. And it really, at this point in the season, you would figure that those kind of communication errors would be ironed out. These players have played with each other from the fall all the way through the spring, and having a chance to spend all those months practicing and playing with one another, you would think by now communication errors would be few and far between.
At any rate, They're played by humans, and whether it's just lack of focus, like we mentioned, this is the end of the season for both these teams, and they've been out there and practicing all summer long, so could be a case of fatigue too, who knows. But Wichita State will try to bounce back, and SMU will try to keep the Shockers on skates. Tabitha Brown serving for the Shockers. Teams change ends of the floor. Calling just a little tip in the middle to Emma Wright, who I think maybe was partially surprised. Got it over to the SMU side of the net, but it's the kind of thing that plagued Wichita State in the first set. And again, SMU takes advantage. Rachel Wolf for the kill.
If you missed this at the beginning, one of our keys for Wichita State was establishing the middles, and it just hasn't happened through the first set plus. That was Emma Wright hitting it with her offhand as she was on her way down when the pass was headed in her direction.
Ace for SMU on the serve, so now two quick ones. Bria Merchant had 10 digs against Tulsa on Friday night. Registers the ace to give SMU the first 2 points of the second set. Good dig by Montana Watts. Calling, quick in the middle, turns into a Shocker point.
Still not flawless, but better from Wichita State as far as the middles go, as Wright kind of got one off the fingertips, and it may have worked out in the Shockers' favor because it took a little bit off the swing, and there was some open court.
Well, that serve by Wichita State was tough to handle, but SMU rebounds and ends up with a 2-point advantage again.
And good work from Lily Heim here. She had to go a long way, the freshman from Omaha, Nebraska, just trying to put that ball in a position where Adams could get a swing on it. Sometimes that's all you can do as a setter.
And Watts has one just crawl over the tape for a service ace. Yeah, that last attack by Brittany Adams didn't look like she had anywhere to go with it, but powered it through the Shocker block and turned into a point. Mustangs with an early 4-1 advantage here in set 2. Stylewall answers for Wichita State. She was pretty active in first set.
Definitely been one of the bright spots for the Shockers, swinging it with confidence.
5 kills for her here in the early going. I don't think Wichita State has enjoyed a lead yet today. Adams did what she could there, sent it over to the Shocker side. Tafflinger through the block, and that'll land out of bounds, point Wichita State.
Just the second kill for Megan Tafflinger, who is the other key for Wichita State, trying to get her involved. Nagging injuries have really slowed down what was a fantastic start to her season, but she will be very good by the time she leaves Wichita.
Shivita with a nice dig for Wichita State. Tafflinger again. Watts keeps it alive on the back line for SMU. Roberts set up Tafflinger, and she hit it wide. Attack error for Wichita State, point SMU. SMU has been in command here this afternoon. They won the first set 25-23. But it certainly didn't feel that close for the majority of that first set. SMU had Wichita State at arm's length most of the first set here. Kuhn tips it across for the Shockers. Adams counters, and through the block, point SMU. Brittany Adams strikes again. Four-year starter for Lisa Seifert and the SMU Mustangs. Brittany Adams. 10 kills, as Denning mentioned, 42 swings in that first match against Wichita State, claimed by the Mustangs.
But just a really well-rounded player. I think it's easy to get caught up in just her ability to hit the volleyball, but she does so much well for this team, not to mention the fact that obviously she's a senior leader, a vocal leader, and contributes offensively, defensively, one of the best on this team in terms of digs.
Mustangs still up 2. They've had an answer for everything WSU has doled out here so far. Little tip across by Adams. Shockers kept that off the floor. Brooke Smith tries it quick in the middle. That didn't work out. Adams off the Shocker hand. Point SMU. Long rally goes the way of SMU.
And those are the kind of points that Wichita State has just not been winning over this last set plus and really back into Friday. An extended rally, but ultimately SMU gets it into a position where they've got their best player taking a swing, and that's all you can ask for.
Brittany Adams serve for the Mustangs, and Alex Kuhn gets one back for Wichita State. They're within 2 now again.
Say what you will about the Wichita State offense, but it does not include the efforts of Alex Kuhn. She's been fantastic. Already 8 kills for her. Rapidly closing in on her rate against Houston.
2's kind of been the magic number, and that is the deficit by Wichita State. They can't seem to get any closer than that, and they finally do. It's now 7-6 here early on in the second set.
Good work on the back row there from Georgia Chivita. She did not have a whole lot of time to react to a ball that ended up going long, but that's a split-second decision, and she makes the right one.
And Wichita State, just as I say that, draw even after a service ace by Georgia Chivita. Chivita likely will go down as one of the all-time greats at Wichita State, and she's only halfway home.
Fastest ever to 1,000 digs in Wichita State program history, and there's been some good liberos to come through this program.
Maren Kennedy gives SMU the lead back with a kill for the Mustangs. She hit .579 Friday night against Tulsa. Kennedy did with 11 kills. Tabitha Brown sends one wide. High velocity but misfires, so the attack error saddled to Tabitha Brown, senior from Spring, Texas. She had 11 kills against Houston but only hit 119. SMU to serve after Wichita State tied it and rattled off a couple in a row. Kuhn didn't get much elevation off the floor, but perfectly hit, and the Shockers get within 1. Alex Kuhn's having quite an afternoon.
We're talking about on pace for a career high kind of afternoon, and that's an element of her game that she's always had, the ability to turn kind of a flat-footed swing into a kill. She just has a great understanding of where the opponent is located and where the open floor is.
And speaking of open floor, Hannah Jacobs powered it through the Shocker block, gives SMU a 2-point advantage back.
A girl who really didn't play much at the beginning of the season, but then she came onto the scene in a big way. 21 kills in their 5-set win against Abilene Christian. She's been a big factor ever since.
Had 13, as we mentioned, on Friday night against Tulsa. Stylewalt turned away by Brittany Adams with a nice dig. And it was either a block for Wichita State or didn't make it over the net. At any rate, Shockers within 10-9.
I think the twine may have helped out the Shockers here, and it did, in fact, but that doesn't mean that the block wasn't set up in the right place, because when it's positioned well and it gets there in time, a hitter is forced to try and go cross court. It's a much more difficult swing.
Jacobs denied by Chivita.
Those are 2 incredible digs.
2 different SMU players trying Chivita. And Stylewalt off a Mustang hand. Point goes to Wichita State. The Shockers tied up again.
I almost feel like Georgia Chivita should get a partial kill for that, just because she earned the point for Wichita State. That should have been put away at least twice on 2 rockets that she kept in the air. Stylewalt gets the kill, but it looks like this will be challenged.
Will be a coach's challenge. Yes, it will. Chivita, by the way, leading the American in digs per set coming into the weekend at just over 5.5 per. She improved on that against Houston with 30 digs on Friday night. Here's another look. I would assume Lisa Seifert is challenging whether SMU touched it or not.
I, for one, always look forward to getting this wrong. Like, we've been about 0 for 4 on trying to speculate what the call will be on these reviews. Well, Wichita State was lobbying for the touch initially, and that usually will tell you something, but it just means that they heard something. That could be the net, it could be a fingertip.
Yeah, we've had about as much success as Angel Hernandez safe out calls at first base in baseball. There was one that we thought was really clear Friday night in the Houston-Wichita State match. Went the way of Wichita State. We didn't think it would, but so the speculation is all dried up from this duo. Just have to wait and see what happens here. At the moment, 10-10 here in set 2. Lisa Seifert with the challenge again in her 23rd season at SMU, the only coach the Mustangs have ever had.
Their program started with a roster of freshmen and a couple junior college transfers. And to think about the heights that they've gotten to since then, it's remarkable. It's hard not to draw parallels to the Wichita State baseball program and what Gene Stevenson did, building it from the ground up into a national powerhouse. Just so much work.
What's the sell of a program starting from scratch? That job in itself was a tremendous job by Lisa Seifert, just to get players to come there. And of course, now 23 years later, SMU is a power in what, their 3rd different conference now since they came into existence?
Seifert's taken them from the WAC to Conference USA and now to the American. And they've become one of the best in all of college volleyball as the Shockers get the point. Call stands.
Well, the Shockers with a little mini run of 2 in a row, now make it 3, and the Shockers have taken the lead.
Just the second block for Wichita State in this match as Emma Wright gets the solo stuff here. Kind of a modified slide with Nordman sliding to the middle instead of around back, and Wright was ready for it.
And SMU counters and ties it back up.
And that's really good from Lily Heim. You can see why she's starting to get more and more playing time as the season goes along. This is a difficult set to make, tight to the net, and she still puts it in a position where Jacobs can get a good swing.
SMU beat the Shockers in the first set, 25-23. This one, at least to this point, much closer. It was pretty much all SMU in the first set, and they've been trading jabs here in the second.
Boy, is Wichita State happy to have Emma Wright back. Missed nearly 2 months with that hand injury. You can see there her right hand is taped up. And she really provides an extra element to the Wichita State offense in the middle. Here comes the service error.
So back and forth we go, all knotted up at a dozen apiece. Montana Watts to serve for SMU. Watts has 14 service aces on the season, or at least coming into this match. Watts sets up Adams, and Adams, I think, was the one that put it away eventually. So SMU forges back in front.
It's not just power from Brittany Adams. She's got a little finesse, a little craftiness to her game as well. And that was very nice touch. I think that was going to stay in as well, calling eventually the sprawling effort.
There's calling, setting up Steiwalt. Steiwalt turned away by Bria Merchant on the SMU back line. Little soft tip across turns into a Mustang point. Shockers are all set up for the block, and a little changeup turns into a 13-13 deadlock here in the second set.
And again, 3 black jerseys end up just kind of standing around looking at each other. I got it, you got it.
I got it, you take it. Well, Wichita State is serving. And now Lisa Seifert remains busy over there on the SMU bench. She's kind of got a look of bewilderment as she walks away. Wichita State ends up getting the serve.
Is Jacobs in the net? That's the only thing I can think
of. I guess. That one powered through the block. Point goes to SMU. So they take a 14-13 lead as Rachel Wolf strikes again. Nice back set by Lily Heim, who had 50 assists against Tulsa and 15 digs Friday night, number 7 in white. Roberts quick in the middle. Brooke Smith was denied. Watts with a one-arm dig for SMU. Point Shockers are tied up again. Well, Wichita State, Denning really shot itself in the foot in the first set, playing a much cleaner second set, but it's kind of a staring match right now between the two.
Not much in the way of extended runs on either side. And you get the feeling that whichever team puts together that first 3 or 4 point run is really going to have a stranglehold on this set.
Adams. Brown tries to counter. Georgia Chivita saves the day for Wichita State. And she's normally cleaner than that, and maybe Jordan Roberts blocked her view. Timeout on the floor. SMU with a 15-14 lead. Back in 60 seconds on the American Digital Network.
More than 7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 22 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American, powered by determination.
Scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year.
Cueto from 30!
Unbelievable. And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
Welcome back to Charles Koch Arena on the campus of Wichita State. SMU coming in 10-14 overall, 7-7 in the league. Shockers of Wichita State 12-13, 7-7 as well in the conference. SMU won the first set 25-23, and it has literally just been back and forth here in set 2 after the SMU Mustangs pretty much had it on cruise control in set 1, save for a late rally by Wichita State at the very end.
Those sky-high attack percentages we saw in the first set have started to kind of find their level a little bit here in set 2 as well. SMU down towards 188 in the second set. Wichita State down to 156.
And a bolt by Hannah Jacobs gives SMU a 2-point advantage again.
This is very well placed with a lot of power behind it. And not even Chivita could get a hand to it.
Yeah, that barely found the SMU floor. Right on the back line, Alex Kuhn with the kill.
Kuhn becomes the first player for either side into double figures as she gets to 10 kills already on the afternoon. Like I said, this is shaping up to maybe be a career match for her.
And that's just long. That point will go to SMU. Yeah, the Ponies have had a little more balance when it comes to that as far as the attacks are concerned. Jacobs, Wolf, and Brittany Adams have all kind of taken turns taking the swings for SMU.
I just love some of the young weapons that they have on this SMU roster with Wolf and Jacobs. Those two, it seems like, are just going to haunt the dreams of AAC coaches for years to come, with both being freshmen. You have a freshman setter and then a couple of sophomore middles. There's just a lot to be excited about.
Wichita State will challenge that serve went long or the attack, I should say. I'm sorry. That was Alex Kuhn with the kill earlier.
It was Chivita's serve that that the Shockers will be challenging here. And it's an important challenge, I think, and a good time to use it just because of where this set is. And a swing in 1 point here could be critical.
SMU has had Wichita State fighting uphill from the time we started. And the Shockers' loss on Friday was only their second in this building. They're 5-2, but the home games altogether, just not that many for Wichita State. Their entire non-conference slate was away from Charles Koch Arena. Usually very good in this building, but Houston beat them 3-1 on Friday night here.
Not only was the non-conference all away from Charles Koch Arena, it was exceptionally difficult. One of the top 5 hardest schedules in all of Division I volleyball in the non-conference for a young Wichita State team. It was a tough ask.
Hannah Jacobs with her 7th kill for SMU. And the Mustangs trying to wrestle control of this second set away from the Shockers. Speaking of a tough ask, Brittany Adams asked to attack from right in the middle of the floor beyond the 10-foot line, sent one long.
She's more than capable of doing that, though. She can really make something out of nothing. And more than one time in this match, you're going to see her get a kill on a flat-footed swing from about the 10-foot line. She just has that kind of ability.
Nearly 3 kills per set, Brittany Adams, on the season. Shockers get within 1 again. It's just been a hill that's too big to climb as far as getting the lead back. Well, and credit SMU. They've got an answer. Hannah Jacobs strikes again.
That's 6'2" and a downward angle. This was the prior block from Tabitha Brown, but that's down to the floor in a hurry. And if you're not positioned there, you're going to have a hard time.
Good looking serve that turns into an ace for SMU. Lily Heim. Heim came into the match today with only 8 service aces. Timeout on the floor. We'll be back in 1 minute on the American Digital Network.
Last person anybody's thinking is going to be in college athletics. One thing I really valued about my SMU experience was being in engineering school. I was taught how to think. In 2012, my wife and I decided to start our foundation. Basically, the goal is to let kids be kids while they're in the hospital, but also be able to return to being a kid when they're done. A huge part of my quality of life is the experiences that I've had, and that was all provided by SMU. I'm Thomas Morstead. Game changers are shaped here.
Roundhouse, Charles Koch Arena on the campus of Wichita State. SMU, after taking the first set, out in front 20-17 in set number 2. Got Wichita State on the ropes and have had ever since we started. Shane Dennis and Denning Garrick bringing you the Shockers and Mustangs on the American Digital Network here this afternoon. Glad you could be a part of it here on this Veterans Day. During that timeout, public address announcer took the opportunity to have all the servicemen and women stand. Got a nice round of applause during the timeout. SMU, meanwhile, continues its march toward the second set victory. They lead it by 4 now, and again, the Shockers are on the ropes. That service ace is going to make it even tougher now as Lily Heim's been serving for a while, didn't he?
And that is 6 service aces for an SMU team that came in today with just 91 on the season, second fewest in the entire conference. Those are the kind of hidden points that you don't expect. If you can just get a couple here and there, it'll really help a rally.
Well, and Wichita State absolutely flat-footed, and they are going to throw up a Hail Mary here, timeout by Chris Lamb to try to shake things up a little bit, but SMU obviously only needing 3 points, and Wichita State has a huge hill to climb. This has just been a weekend in which the Shockers, again, Houston came in here with just 2 conference wins, albeit one of them against Wichita State down in Houston, but Houston looked like the more aggressive, more confident team, won in 4 sets, and SMU is pretty much taking that blueprint and running with it.
You wonder if it's just something about the Texas teams for Wichita State. They had that road trip down to SMU and Houston where they led 2-0 against the Cougars and 2-1 against SMU, and they ended up losing both. I think the Mustangs have played their type of game, though. They primarily are a team that relies on their defense. They want to get the middles involved a little bit and then just kind of spread the wealth. I think they've done a really good job. I think Lily Hine, the setter, has done a fantastic job distributing, and it's been basically all Mustangs from the get-go.
Inching closer to putting the Shockers away, 22-17. The Shockers had a little something for the Mustangs at the very end of the first set, got within a couple, and made the Mustangs sweat a little bit at the end, but SMU won at 25-23, and trying to keep the Shockers at bay here late in set number 2. Steiwalt with the kill for the Shockers gets WSU within 4.
Well, it's been Steiwalt and Kuhn and nobody else, basically, for Wichita State. SMU, meanwhile, has 5 players with multiple kills, including Jacobs and Wolf leading the way with 8 and 7, respectively.
Jacobs stuffed at the net, 2 in a row by Wichita State. Tabitha Brown will continue to serve for Wichita State. Shockers are down 3. Reagan Steiwalt, again, who didn't have as much of a role down in Dallas the first time the 2 teams met. One of the best on the floor for the Shockers today. And Jacobs misfires. 3 in a row by Wichita State. And now SMU is going to take a timeout. So that prayer that Chris Lamb threw up there got answered, or at least a little bit, 3 in a row, and that forced Lisa Seifert to call a timeout of her own.
We tend to see this a lot in high-level college volleyball in terms of teams saving their timeouts for late in sets, and it is not rare at all to see just a flurry of these every 2 or 3 points. Now, we saw on Friday, whenever Houston seemed to call a timeout, they would set up a play out of that timeout that virtually got them a point every single time. This is a huge one. If Wichita State's get back to within 1, they'll feel like they're definitely in this set. At 23-20, it would be an almost impossible mountain to climb.
Coming into the weekend, Tulsa had a 9-4 conference record and 17-8 overall, but SMU strolled in there and took care of them in 5 sets, so that was one of the upsets of the weekend, in addition to what happened here in this building the other way.
It was a great win for that SMU program, and like we said at the top, it's been kind of a weird season for both these teams. For SMU in particular, they haven't had a stretch of more than 2 consecutive wins or losses the whole conference season. So you can't find a rhythm in a good way, and you haven't exactly been in any kind of a bad stretch for an extended period either. They just basically have traded wins and losses ever since the start of the conference play.
And again, if you joined us a little late, these are 2 programs used to winning, and winning a lot. 20-win season streaks both on the line for both these clubs. Wichita State continues its rally, and they're now within 1, 22-21. It was 22-17 a moment ago. Jacobs. Core calling, sets up Steiwalt. And the run continues for Wichita State. 5 straight after Chris Lamb called a timeout. And things looked really dire about 5 minutes ago. Brown continues to serve for Wichita State. Jacobs. Boy, that almost found the Mustangs floor. Montana Watts with a great save.
Everything is getting deflected right now. Every swing.
Calling, sets up Stylewalt. Watts with a sprawling dig. And Jacobs off a couple of shocker hands, point SMU.
We may look back at that first swing from Jacobs that the Shockers blocked, but ultimately it snuck over the tape as being a huge swing point. And ultimately Jacobs gets it away, but that was a chance for Wichita State to move in front.
SMU now with the tenuous lead. And just like that, the Shockers knot it back up. SMU led 21-17. The Shockers came roaring back, and here we are, knotted up at 23. And that attack by Brittany Adams is long. So now Wichita State was on the brink of going down 2-0, but serving for set point, and that'll force Lisa Seifert to take another timeout. So the Shockers now with just one to get in a furious rally here in set two that's been absolutely back and forth after SMU controlled most of set one.
You talk about a game of inches. That was so close from Adams on the back tape. Another good swing from her, but you got to give so much credit to Wichita State for putting this rally together when we had all but proclaimed them dead here in this second set. It seemed like they couldn't get anything going, and it was all SMU, but a huge rally spurred in large part to a great service run from Tabitha Brown and the block game getting involved. The Shockers now up to 5 blocks on the match. They got a ton of deflections over these last 6 or 7 points, and it's given their offense a chance.
The Shockers have scored 6 of the last 7 points and now are on the brink of tying this thing up at 1 set apiece. SMU, again, won the first one 25-23, but the Shockers had to rally a couple of different times just to make it that close. SMU led by as many as 7 points at different areas of that first set. And so a 6-1 Wichita State run has them on the brink of tying this up. Emma Wright to serve. Calling, sets up Stylewalt. Adams ties it up. Brittany Adams with the kill. Unofficially her 7th.
The whole development of that point was just begging for it to be passed back to this near side to Adams because all the action had been on one side of the floor. The dig, the passes, everything, all swings had been on that side, so Adams was virtually all alone.
Quick in the middle of Brooke Smith, and now SMU is 1 point away. 2 in a row and a nerve-wracking second set. And Adams puts it away on the overpass, and SMU survives a frantic rally by Wichita State to take a 26-24 second set and a stranglehold on this match. 2-0. SMU with the advantage here in Wichita. We got the intermission coming up. We'll be back in just a little bit on the American Digital Network.
More than 7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 22 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American, powered by determination.
I was the last person anybody's thinking is going to be in college athletics. One thing I really valued about my SMU experience was being in engineering school. I was taught how to think. In 2012, my wife and I decided to start our foundation. Basically, the goal is to let kids be kids while they're in the hospital, but also be able to return to being a kid when they're done. A huge part of my quality of life is the experiences that I've had, and that was all provided by SMU. I'm Thomas Morstead. Game changers are shaped here.
Dominance for a fourth straight year.
Hueso from 30.
Unbelievable. And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
SMU wrestled control away from Wichita State in that second set after the Shockers mounted a furious rally, tying it up after trailing by as many as 5, but SMU wins 26-24 after taking the first set 25-23. SMU showed a good bit of resolve, Denning, at the end of that second set.
Didn't look like two teams playing out the string, did it? It looked like two teams fighting for every single point. Wichita State's rally to get up to 24-23 was very impressive, winning 6 of 7 points. And then SMU with 3 consecutive to end the set. Just great work from SMU and Lisa Seifert's bunch. I thought they did a good job taking that timeout when it was 24-23 to get into an offensive system that favored them. And who else but Brittany Adams with the final kill to put away the second set and really give the Mustangs a stranglehold on this match.
Adams was a little bit quiet in the first set, but had 6 second set kills on 17 swings. SMU survived, hitting only 113 in that second set after they hit 308 in the first one.
In a lot of ways, I think it was a more SMU style of set than the first one was. They're not used to just outscoring people. I've said this several times already this afternoon, but Lisa Seifert's bunch has always been known for their defensive efforts. They're just going to basically strangle you with their ability to dig the ball and block it. And I think that second set a lot more reflective of what the Mustangs typically do.
You see the numbers individually. Alex Kuhn is working on a really, really solid day for Wichita State. 10 kills and 18 swings, hitting 500. Brittany Adams, 8 kills. Rachel Wolf, 7 kills for SMU. And Hannah Jacobs, also 9 kills, hitting 278. So SMU has had an answer for everything Wichita State has offered up for them. The second set was a lot more competitive than the first, it felt like anyway. I know the scores were almost similar, but SMU kind of had it on cruise control in the first set, and the Shockers responded with a much better effort in the second set and still came up a little bit short.
It's definitely punch-counterpunch in that second set all the way through the teens and up towards the early 20s before SMU kind of seized control with the run. For the Shockers right now, it's a search for someone else to get on the scoreboard. Kuhn and Steiwald played very well, combining for 18 kills, but it's nothing compared to the balance that SMU has got. They've got 3 players with at least 7, and that just gives them so many more options. It's much more difficult to defend.
And you brought it up, I think it was in the second set, too. One of the things it's almost pennies from heaven if you're an SMU fan, 6 service aces. That was a pleasant surprise for the Mustangs.
They're a team that their serving philosophy is basically just put the ball in play, and we're going to feel confident about our ability to outplay you from there. They don't have a whole lot of service aces, and teams don't get many aces against them either. That's been a little bit of a surprise, as Wichita State has 3 of their own. 9 service aces, not something I would have expected through 2 sets here in Wichita.
So SMU trying to make it a clean sweep in their trip up I-35, beat Tulsa on Friday night in 5 sets. But they have a hammerlock on this one after winning the first 2 against Wichita State here this afternoon. 25-23, 26-24 the scores. And that coming on the heels of Friday night's match here against Houston, in which the Cougars dispatched of Wichita State in 4 sets. So SMU to serve in the driver's seat, up 2-0. Merchant will serve for SMU. Merchant turns away Alex Kuhn's attack to start things here in the 3rd set. A little soft tip across. One of the more extended rallies we've seen here this afternoon.
Shoulder dig.
Finally, we have a point here in the 3rd set. Kuhn with another kill. It's her 11th. I believe that's the first time the Shockers got the first point here this afternoon. They've been, again, fighting uphill virtually from the get-go. And SMU counters. Wolf with a kill for SMU.
Right between the block, Abby Pugh into the Wichita State lineup for the first time, and just a little separation there in the hands was all that Wolf needed.
Wolf second on the team in kills coming into this match today. And Denning mentioned it a couple of different times. The future looks very, very bright for SMU, even though this is kind of a blip on the radar. 10-14 season from a team that routinely wins 20 games or more.
They were picked 4th in the preseason. Wichita State, of course, was picked 1st. And so in that regard, it's been a disappointing season. But like I said, at some point in all of college athletics, you're just going to have one of those classes where it moves on and you're left with a lot of holes to fill. It's almost an impossible task.
Abby Pugh to serve for Wichita State. And kill by Brittany Adams. Adams strikes again on the left side.
Both these teams will be, I think, in a pretty similar position next year, where they'll return everyone except for their big outside hitter. For SMU, it's Brittany Adams moving on. For Wichita State, it's Tabitha Brown. But a lot of young pieces and a lot of those very exciting talents on both sides of the net.
Adams strikes again. Georgia Chivita getting a workout on the floor, trying to turn Adams away. Been all Mustangs here this afternoon. Emma Wright with the kill in the middle for Wichita State. Mentioned earlier, Emma Wright missed over a month with that broken thumb on her right hand. She came back just Friday night.
Been a brutal year as far as injuries go for Wichita State. There was a match earlier this year where they had 6 players in street clothes on the bench who are typically in the rotation. And I don't care if you're Penn State, Nebraska, Texas, it doesn't matter. That 6 of your main rotation players out with an injury, it's going to be difficult to overcome. Chris Lamb will never make that excuse. He's not that kind of a guy, but it's difficult.
It is what it is. Tabitha Brown gets the Shockers within 1.
Good swing there over the SMU block. Brown's been pretty quiet here this afternoon. Just her 3rd kill.
Yeah, she has. I was just thinking the same thing. And then a service error into the net. Only 3 kills for Tabitha Brown. Marin Kennedy to serve for the Mustangs. through the Shocker block. Point Mustangs. Hannah Jacobs. Yeah, the cupboard definitely is not bare when you're talking about next year, what to look forward to if you're a Mustang volleyball fan.
Sure, Hannah Jacobs happy to be playing well against Wichita State after the match that she had against the Shockers down in Dallas. Like you said, just 2 kills on 5 swings at Moody. Here, she's had a great day. A play from Shiva to there.
Tafflinger with a big swing just inside the left pin for Wichita State. Right stuffed at the net. And Tafflinger finally powers one through the block for Wichita State.
She was one of our other keys for the Shockers, was trying to get her involved, and she just hasn't had that same kind of explosiveness that she showcased earlier in the year. That's just her 3rd kill, and the search for kind of a complementary scorer to Steiwald and Kuhn continues.
2 Shockers run together. Tafflinger stuffed at the net, but it trickles out of bounds.
Basically, this is all that Tafflinger could do with that set. It was so tight to the net. Her only chance was to tip it into the block and hope that something good came of it.
Block and point Wichita State. We're knotted up at 7. Set 3 in a row. Rattled off by WSU.
Steiwald, some help from the tape. This has been kind of a coming out party for Reagan Steiwald. Very good match for her, and that's a couple in a row.
Speaking of a couple in a row, that's 4 in a row by Wichita State. They retake the lead.
For a team that doesn't get many blocks, they've gotten a couple here. Abby Pugh this time with the deflection, crawls across the tape. 7 blocks on the afternoon for the Shockers. 4 for SMU.
That one ate up Cora Calling, and SMU ties it back up at 8. 8-8, set 3. SMU won each of the first 2 sets by 2. Steiwald with another big swing for Wichita State. She has 9 kills now for the Shockers.
A very good back set as well from Cora Calling, giving Steiwald momentum heading towards the net. Confident swing.
Steiwald came into this match hitting just 106 on her 200-plus swings. But she has found something here this afternoon. Now the Shockers have come storming back here. They take their first 2-point lead. Another block.
And that was Lexi Nordman on the swing, who we hadn't heard much of since set 1. Talk about some good athletic bloodlines.
Wichita State's found something here early in the 3rd set.
When Wichita State made their run towards the end of set 2, they were doing a lot of that. It's continued here into set 3.
Be back in a minute here on the American Digital Network.
More than 7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 22 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American, powered by determination.
Scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year.
Hueso from 30!
Unbelievable. And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
Wichita State hanging by a thread, down 2 sets to none on their home floor. They have came roaring back here in the third set. They've scored 3 in a row. And the Shockers lead it 11-8 here in the third set. Also serving will be Jordan Roberts. Overpass, and the run continues for the Shockers. They lead it now 12-8.
Lisa Seifert does not appear to be particularly pleased over on the SMU bench. And they're going to make a sub as Ryan Palmieri will check in for the first time all afternoon.
Roberts serving for the Shockers. Pugh gives way to Chivita and Tafflinger. That timing was doomed virtually from the start there. So SMU chokes off that Shocker rally, at least for the moment. Now the Mustangs have a little work to do here in the third set. Watts was waiting for the attack from Kuhn. And that quick in the middle goes out of bounds. Looked like a clean look from Abby Pugh, but an attack error gives SMU the point.
Timing was better for Wichita State, but Pugh's angle was off as she sliced it to the left of the tape.
What an effort by Montana Watts. The Shockers didn't handle it well, but Watts with a miraculous dig. Now here come the Mustangs. Merchant serving for SMU. And that one finally finds the Mustang floor. Point Shockers.
Probably haven't talked about Montana Watts as much as we should have in this broadcast. She is one of the best in the conference, along with Chivita at digging the volleyball. Third in the AAC with 5.52 digs per set. These two, not only the best in the conference, but really some of the best in the entire country at keeping the ball off the floor.
Yeah, Watts had 38 digs against Tulsa on Friday night.
And she'll be back as well, a junior.
There she is. She'll be serving for SMU. Had 30 digs in the previous matchup against Wichita State back on the 19th of October. So Shocker service error. And WSU gets the point right back as Alex Kuhn strikes again. Her big afternoon continues.
Make it 13 kills for Kuhn. That is the most she's had in a match since all the way back towards the end of September on that Florida road trip. Been a long time coming for her.
Yeah, Kuhn's season high in kills, 19.
And that was the first match of the season.
That was
against James Madison.
Way back. The Shockers clinging to a 1-point lead. They've got to have this set. SMU is taking the first two. Yes. Adams stuffed at the net. Will set her up again. And Wichita State again ready for it.
Some kind of ambitious swings, I think, from Adams. Those were near the 10-foot line and not great sets to do anything with. Might have been better served to just kind of punch that one across.
Shockers now with a 3-point advantage. So they weather SMU's storm a little bit. It's a Mustang slow to get up. It looks like it's Lily Heim. One of the members of the SMU training staff talking to Lily Heim. See if we can see it at the bottom of your screen. Number 7.
I think she's holding her right ankle.
Oh, yeah. Came down on a teammate's foot.
A freshman who is playing some really good volleyball right now. Career high 50 assists for her on Friday, but I don't think her afternoon will have any more assists in it. Nice round of applause from the Shocker faithful, and that is not something you ever want to see.
Lily Heim looked like she stepped on an opponent's or one of her teammates' foot and rolled her right ankle. She had 27 assists and 12 digs. Lily Heim did against Wichita State in their previous matchup.
So it'll be Kendall Patterson now as the setter for SMU, and she's more than capable. This was a girl who was freshman of the year in this conference back in 2016. She was second team all-conference a year ago. Kind of been squeezed out of the rotation with the way that Heim had been playing, but a big moment for her now.
And Eva Linden checks in to the SMU lineup. Brown kind of came out of nowhere to come save the day for Wichita State. Kind of an awkward one-legged jump and ended up getting the kill.
Calling just basically served it into the air to give Brown a chance, and sometimes that's all you want to do with Tabitha Brown, is let her go be a better athlete than whoever she's up against.
Adams answers for SMU. 11 kills for Brittany Adams.
She's shown the power, and there she showed the ability to go with pinpoint cross court. That's a difficult shot off a Shocker hand and down. 11 kills for her to pace the Mustangs.
Brown with a kill for Wichita State. So in a set that they have to have, Tabitha Brown is stepping up with a couple of kills for Wichita State over the last few points. Emma Wright tried a little sleight of hand there at the net. Didn't work out. Point Mustangs.
Emma Wright doing her best setter impression there, and might have been better served to put it up into the air. Chris Lamb with the palm skyward on the Shocker bench.
Tafflinger off the Mustang finger.
Two very good switches of play there from Wichita State. They went from one side of the net to the other, and Tafflinger able to find a very small window for the kill.
Shockers by 4. Take a break here on the American Digital Network.
Last person anybody's thinking is going to be in college athletics. One thing I really valued about my SMU experience was being in engineering school. I was taught how to think. In 2012, my wife and I decided to start our foundation. Basically, the goal is to let kids be kids while they're in the hospital, but also be able to return to being a kid when they're done. A huge part of my quality of life is the experiences that I've had, and that was all provided by SMU. I'm Thomas Morstead. Game changers are shaped here.
Shockers with a 4-point advantage here in the third set. SMU has taken the first 2 of this match. Wichita State desperately trying to scratch and claw their way back in this one. Shane Dennis and Denning Garrick bringing you Wichita State and SMU here on the American Digital Network. Glad you could join us here on this Sunday afternoon. SMU trying to offer up a little bit of a rally here midway through the third set. And it's a good place to start. Mustangs get within 3. Paul Mary with her first kill.
Tell me if you've heard this before. A freshman from Austin, Texas. She had 13 kills against Wichita State down in Dallas. That's the second most she's had all year. The injury to Heim has given her a chance as the Mustangs have shuffled some things around. dig on the back row from Adams.
Brittany Adams showing her versatility. Montana Watts couldn't quite keep that one off the floor. Pugh credited with the kill for Wichita State.
And again, you probably have to give a hat tip to Georgia Chivita just for keeping that alive. She's already got 26 digs.
Roberts to serve for the Shockers. Off the slide, kill for SMU. Lexi Nordman's been kind of quiet here this afternoon, but now that Lily Heim is out, and as Denning mentioned, SMU's kind of had to shuffle the deck a little bit. Nordman with the kill gives SMU some life. And a kill for SMU. Boy, you would think that Montana Watts and Georgie Chivita know exactly where each attack is coming from every time someone takes it. Ball finds them, doesn't it?
Feels like 80% of planet Earth is covered by those two.
Yeah.
It's a hard time getting the ball down to the floor with those two liberos out there. They do it in different ways, though. I feel like Watts, probably a superior athlete, a little better quickness. Georgia Chivita makes her money by an excellent understanding of the scouting report and knowing where the ball is going. She's seemingly in a position to make a dig before the ball's even hit.
Kara Bound to serve for Wichita State. Shockers inching closer to winning their first set of the day. Got to have it, as SMU took the first two. Big swing gives Wichita State a 4-point advantage as Alex Kuhn, her borderline career afternoon continues.
All she's doing is hitting .483 with 15 kills, most for her in conference play.
And he's one off of Alex Kuhn's season high all the way back on opening weekend. So SMU within 3. If they want to sweep Wichita State out of its own gym, they got to make a move right now. Watts serving for the Mustangs. And Watts helped set up Brittany Adams. Badly needed point for SMU. And Chris Lamb is going to take a timeout. So the Shockers 3 points away from taking a set. If memory serves, Houston won the first 2 sets Friday night. Shockers won, but then the Cougars put them away in 4. And Wichita State just wants that opportunity here. First things first, they've got 3 more big points to get.
Makes sense that Chris Lamb would use the timeout here. A couple of points from SMU has made this a little more interesting, and you string together 1 or 2 more, things become very dire for Wichita State. He recognizes the significance of this upcoming point, I think.
And keeping an eye on that SMU bench over toward the left of your screen, trying to see if Lily Heim is much for the rest of this afternoon. She twisted an ankle, had to leave. Saw her sitting basically behind all the players on the bench, either getting her ankle taped or retying the shoes. So we'll see if number 7 in white comes back for SMU. Meanwhile, Wichita State's getting a career afternoon from Alex Kuhn. 15 kills. Denning mentioned the efficiency. And SMU being paced so far by Brittany Adams, among others. She has 13 kills for SMU and 7 digs to go along with it unofficially for the Mustangs. Montana Watts will serve for SMU. And Lily Heim is back out there for SMU.
Free ball opportunity for Wichita State.
Merchant just had to send it over. Shockers didn't exactly take advantage. Heads up play by Adams, but Georgia Chivita was there again. Brown through the block.
Badly needed for Wichita State. That was the point they had to have, I think. If SMU was going to start making this interesting in this third set, Brown eventually with a big kill started to work her way into this match. She's now got 6, but been a slow start for her.
Abby Pugh to serve for the Shockers. SMU comes right back. Kendall Patterson checks in to serve for the Mustangs.
Rachel Wolf, the kill there. She is 1 away from joining 2 other Mustang teammates in double figures. It's impressive stuff.
Brown misfires, and SMU still hanging around, serving to tie up the set. That one handcuffed Brown a little bit. She just tips it across. Boy, Tabitha Brown has been getting good looks, it seems like, but SMU has been up to the task, and Brittany Adams has been a handful. We're tied at 23, and now it's getting right down to it. We'll take a timeout. Be back in 60 seconds here on the American Digital Network.
More than 7,000 student athletes rising to become champions in 22 different sports at 13 esteemed institutions across 11 states. 360,000 students and 2.6 million alumni rise up in celebration of a Power 6 conference known as the American, powered by determination.
Scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year.
Cueto from 30!
Unbelievable. And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
All knotted up at 23 here in the third set. Shane Dennis and Denning Gehrig here on the campus of Wichita State University. SMU trying to do the unthinkable, to come into Wichita State's gym and sweep them. They've taken the first 2 sets, and now it's just a sprint to 25. SMU serving for the lead. And now SMU will be serving for the match.
Big time block from SMU. They haven't gotten a whole lot from their block in this match, but of course it's Brittany Adams. That's what a senior's supposed to do, make big time plays.
Aaron Kennedy was involved there as well. SMU on the brink. And a rare ball handling error by Montana Watts. I don't know if she was distracted or what. That is a gift for Wichita State. Shockers get at least a little bit of breathing room or margin for error anyway. Nice touch by Tabitha Brown after she and Brittany Adams were trading haymakers.
It's a combination of finesse and power from Tabitha Brown. That wasn't just a push shot. That had a lot behind it. And very well placed to give her 8 kills.
Shockers serving for the set now. Oh, and Wichita State commits a miscue. So the celebration will have to wait a little bit. A couple of moments ago, SMU was serving for the match. The two teams have traded ball handling errors to give gift points to the other. Brown gets set up yet again, and it's hit wide. So here we go again, SMU with another chance to close this out. Just
Tried to go down the line, yep.
Bound and Chivita almost ran together. Boy, did that turn out for Wichita State. Everything Alex Kuhn is touching is turning gold today.
I told you she was capable of doing just this. Not a whole lot of elevation from the back row, and it still finds the floor. Has a knack for it.
Oh, and that was a bullet that ate up Tabitha Brown, and now SMU on the doorstep yet again.
They have not worked into the middles much. Marin Kennedy, just her 14th swing of the afternoon, but a very effective one.
Back and forth we go, late third set. Quick in the middle. There's Lily Heim waiting for it. Great sprawling save by Adams on the back row, and SMU has done it. SMU sweeps Wichita State, and they sweep the two-match swing in Tulsa and now at Wichita State. SMU now 11-14, 8-7 in American play. And our player of the game, Brittany Adams for SMU, she was in the middle of everything for the Ponies.
She's going to end up one dig away from yet another double-double, but man, did she come up with some huge plays. 14 kills, the huge block when SMU needed it late in that third set. And ultimately, it seemed like she was right in the middle of two of the most distinctive rallies of this entire match. It's what a senior's supposed to do. Down the stretch in a close match, they're supposed to make big-time plays. That's what Brittany Adams did for the Mustangs today.
So the Shockers dropped both matches at home this weekend. Houston turned the trick Friday night, and now SMU in 3 sets beats Wichita State to drop the Shockers at 7-8 overall in the conference and 12-14 in their overall record. Well, SMU playing some good volleyball right now as they sweep Wichita State in their own building. For Denny Gehrig, I'm Shane Dennis. Thanks so much for watching the American Digital Network. Once again, SMU victorious over Wichita State, 3-0.